This is Company of Heroes history. Hello and welcome to another episode of Company of Heroes history. This is episode 10. And today we're going to be looking at another match on Angerville, this time between NewName as the Axis in the south. Now NewName was sometimes went by FreeZZing with the two Z's on GameReplays.org and in other games. And he's an extremely good Company of Heroes player and was very proficient in other games too. He was on GameReplays.org. He was an expert player in both Command & Conquer Red Alert 3 and Command & Conquer 3. So around this time, the late 2010s, he was a very, very proficient player, not only in Company of Heroes, but also in some other games too. He started with Vox Grenadiers, and in the north of the map, we have Challengerli. And now Challengerli was very close to the top of the leaderboards with both factions. Kind of somewhat controversial player, I would say, in some ways. Some players thought he was quite abusive. He would tend to use the strategies that were very powerful at the time and would kind of spam them out a lot. And get a lot of wins in a short period of time when something in particular was overpowered. But also, my own opinion of him was not that really. I think there's some truth to that, but also he was pretty innovative in some ways. And the strategy that really sticks out in my mind that he came up with was to go Infantry Company and go right-hand side of infantry and prioritize munitions and get that first command point that would allow your riflemen to build field defenses and then just spam the entire field with mines. Cover the field with mines, and by doing so you could capture and maintain a huge amount of map control in the early game. So I don't quite see him as in the negative like that some players did. I really enjoyed playing that style, particularly when you had the very powerful howitzer on the right side as well, so you could follow up that early game dominance with a slightly slower tech to maybe the motor pool, usually the motor pool, and then you would rush an M8 into the base and use an on-map or off-map howitzer to kind of batter down the buildings and keep them under a lot of pressure. It's a really powerful strategy. As it is now, you can see he's kind of, and interestingly, he's focused on these, I'll show on the tactical map, he's focused on these 3 strategic points here, first of all, which is interesting. It hasn't managed to get any resources online, but it looks like he will focus with his fighting units on the left here with the 2 riflemen pushing over this way, leaving his engineer to cap the right-hand side and getting some resources online. It looks like FreeZZing, or NewName, excuse me. I'll go with NewName for this replay. Has gone for a couple of Vox Grenadier squads straight out of the gate. Interesting choice, no MG just yet. Not a bad option with some heavy cover here. But he's not going to be able to push Challengerli off right away with those riflemen sitting in heavy cover. But yeah, with the 2 Pioneer squads, 2 Vox Grenadiers, this should be a pretty good engagement if they can stay in a good position, just like this. Now he is deciding to move forward with the Vox Grenadiers here, NewName. Challengerli pushing back slightly, focus firing that Pioneer, getting it down, losing a lot of health and quite a few models on this rifleman squad. He may want to get out of there, particularly if the Pioneer does manage to come in and close the distance. Doesn't, just decide to stay back. The rifleman squad is really, really pushing it there. And of course the other advantage of this is that Challengerli knows exactly where all of FreeZZing's units are. He hasn't seen a single thing on the right hand side yet. Saw a Pioneer squad go down. I think it looked like an engineer squad there went down for Challengerli as well. But yeah, he's in a decent position here, knowing exactly where NewName is. He'll be pretty comfortable with his map control. I won't be too worried just yet about any shenanigans on the right side. Here's the MG, pushing up now, suppressing that one squad. The other squad does seem to go around for the flank. A little bit tricky there. Pioneer's going to get a bit more DPS. Firing it out there. These 2 Vox Grenadiers should easily be able to chase away this rifleman squad that went for the flank. I think this is one risk. Well, one of the ways in which a lot of people were played in quite risky ways in the early days of the game, and that pushing kind of too aggressively as the Americans was really quite common. He's decided to bring this one over here, wasting the time with these 2 Vox Grenadiers, kind of pulling them to the side of the map. That's not a bad idea, particularly when he has 2 full health rifleman squads over here that he may be hoping to go in for a flank on the MG with, although he does have to be careful not to lose this squad on retreat. Looks like they will get out of there. Awkward corner of the map here. I very rarely see fighting right over in the corner like this. Does see the positioning of that 1 MG there. NewName had repositioned it quite nicely to try and capture some squads unawares as they were coming out of the base there. But as it is, oh, now this MG here did push up a little bit too far. Now we do see that flank going off that Challengerli will have been hoping for. But quick reactions from NewName, he'll get away, be able to get into a position where he's supported by the other MG and the Volksgrenadiers, and he should be in no trouble whatsoever. I haven't seen any upgrades yet for the riflemen. I haven't seen any used. But that's not to say they aren't in there. Third Volksgrenadier squad coming out now, so it looks like a 3 Volk 2 MG start. Relatively heavy tier 1. Challengerli, not seen any tech out of him yet, but he's still just on the 4 rifleman squads. Second in his squad has been rebuilt. So that squad looks like it's in a lot of trouble here. Looks like it's been forgotten. If it gets away, it will be an absolute miracle. Oof. Kind of running the gauntlet there. Looks like it will get away, although there's MG over here. No, the second MG is set up in a position to take that out. Oh, a bit of a tricky moment there for Challengerli. Down to the 3 rifleman squads now and the 2 engineers. Looks like he is teching. Hasn't got any upgrades for his rifleman, but is trying to take up there one. No, it looks like he has gone for that right side of infantry play. Trying to get down the mines. So NewName must have seen that being planted, but it wasn't enough to... I wasn't aware enough to not run into that mine. Unfortunately, I'm just looking around to see if there's any other mines planted around here. Yep, a couple more on the right-hand side. Going to try and use that to maintain this map control he's gained over there. I think Challengerli would be in a pretty nice position if he hadn't lost that rifleman squad. But as it is, having lost that squad, I think he's pretty vulnerable to a cut-off push. And reflecting that, we can see here that he has decided to try and make sure he's able to keep hold of that house. Put a rifleman squad in there and try and prevent the cut-off, which would undo all the good work he's done on the right-hand side. Now, the mines he did place, I mean, yeah, nice in some ways, but unfortunately for him, he didn't place any in the sort of this area of the map that would be able to prevent this cut-off, so he's in a bit of a tricky position here. Decides to go and get that left-hand cut-off connected once more, while he just seemingly hopes to hold on here. These 4 squads now, all firing on this one rifle squad in the house, and they do retreat the wrong way. Didn't do that retreat very well, I wouldn't say. Looks like that rifleman squad will go down. Oh no, it's a miracle they went away there. Certainly NewName could have been a little bit more aggressive there in pushing and trying to body block a little bit and try and make sure he gets that cutoff done, but nope, not to be. This MG on the left still holding things down. I think if we see some tech here from NewName Challenger, it could have been in a lot of trouble. He has gone for the motorball and is getting out the quad half track, which is a nice unit, effective in situations. The flanking squads unfortunately don't have any flamers, so aren't able to really stick around there for too long. Another rifleman squad being pushed off the map, and we see that Challengerli has effectively been cut off from almost all of his resources, apart from this one high munitions that will also be cut off pretty soon. Looks like he will have the munitions to get the quad half-track upgrade, which is important. But as he's about to complete his teching, let's go and switch over quickly to NewName's perspective and see what he's up to. So we don't see any tech on the field yet. He's going tier 3. Okay, so the tier 3 upgrade is in process, so there will be... Oh, that mine takes out a squad there. Nicely done indeed. Now, it'll be interesting to see if we see the Minesweeper upgrade from NewName, if he's getting frustrated enough. He doesn't actually have any pioneers on the field. There's 4 Volks and 2 MGs. That's a very extended tier 1. It's not a surprise that he's been able to take a little bit of map control, given the teching that Challengerli is doing and the couple of squads that went down. But he is going to be a little bit weaker. There's going to be a timing here in which Challengerli will be able, with the squad half-track, once it's upgraded, will effectively have no counter on the field apart from the Panzerfaust. Panzerfaust are expensive and take a few hits to take this thing down, so we should, I would think, be able to have a little bit of map dominance here and push off the map. Oh, you see the 2 rifleman squads in there as well. They pop out too. Very nice move there. Gets himself a nice bit of a better position on the map. Again, relying on the mines, I imagine, on the right-hand side to kind of keep the map control there. Challengerli while using the quad half-track. The quad half-track's been very aggressive now. Looks like it might be pushing the base. We'll have to see if he does decide to go right the way in there. NewName did decide to retreat basically all of his units apart from this MG here and the 1 Volk squad on the right-hand side. Apart from that, everything retreated back to the base. Challengerli has got a bit of a decision here. How aggressive does he want to be? He doesn't want to lose this. Really is keeping him in the game. But If he remains aggressive with it, he might be able to take a look at the squads. We saw another MG. Is that the third MG? No, it looks like it is the one that's already damaged, just moving back, having been reinforced. This MG in the house might get damaged here. Oh, it looks like he's prioritizing the Volks Grenadiers, attacking from full range there. Volks Grenadiers trying to get the fuel decap before retreating. Looks like they will get that off. Full of danger. They're in danger of retreating over this mine here. Oh! We saw that being planted earlier. Looks like it will get away. Challengerli doesn't choose to reposition that and ensure he gets off that final hit. Is that another mine going off? Maybe not. Maybe a little bit of a deflection or something off this quad half-track. Firing now at this MG in the house. It's going to have to retreat across the negative cover of the road. I'll be pretty lucky to get away from that, I think. Quad half-track reloads, though. It's not enough to save it, though. Now, NewName, excuse me, pushing out strongly on the left-hand side. We'll take out this engineer squad. Going to try and push back on that side. In the meantime, he has lost a great deal of map control, though. Hasn't had any of these high fuel points connected for a little while now, for a couple of minutes. And currently is disconnected from every single point on the map until he gets these back online, having been cut off at this strategic point. And he has got this tier 3 up, and he's gone for a Stug first of all. Clearly his main concern is the quad half track. He wants to clear something up, clear that up as soon as he can, or at least be able to exert a little bit of control over where it goes. He's got some veterancy now as well, so it'll be a little bit more effective. Big issue on the field there for NewName. So he's gone for the Stug. You know, it's something that you can kind of push with that as like the centerpiece, and you can push around that. So it's strong in that sense. But yeah, it's not that likely unless there's a misplay from Challengerli to actually kill the quad half track in its own. I think an upgraded Puma, he's got the munitions, could have been a little bit more effective in that regard if he wanted to actually kill this, and it would function as a more long-term counter to this. Although he gets a couple of Panzerfausts off there. That's the issue with Panzerfaust. If you aren't going to kill it, and that's a lot of resources there to get those 2 Panzerfausts off. Yeah, great. You force it back to repair, but you know the repairs are essentially free apart from the a little bit of time it takes you're investing into those repairs. Yeah, so a little bit of a risk to fire off those Panzerfausts. A retreat on those barred rifles. I think he could have stuck around there and done some damage, tried to get some veterancy. Perhaps he heard the Stug and just wanted to get out of there as soon as he could. Stug moving forward quite aggressively. Now, I think this is slightly dangerous against Challengerli for the reason we've already seen with the likelihood that he's popped some mines around the map. So Stugs, of course, slow at the best of times, and with damaged engine or something like that, they're an incredibly vulnerable unit. He doesn't seem bothered at all. He's just straight for the base. We do see an AT gun is already out. He's got around the side of it. Gets one hit off. Direct hit on the gun there. Might do some damage. That deflection from the AT gun still did that much damage. It's pretty impressive. The Allied AT gun's really, really strong. NewName pushing forward with MGs, trying to force back that AT gun. Although we do see some flanking rifles here. And the flanking rifles, well, now they have bars. They're so much more potent. And can really do some damage. Really do some damage to these unupgraded Volks Grenadiers. This is one of the problems with going as strong in Tier 1 as NewName did. The 4 Volks Grenadier squads that he went for, as soon as there's some bars on the map for the riflemen, they scale so much better. And you can get veterancy on these Volks Grenadiers, which helps, and the MP40s too, they'll help a little bit. But long term, they don't really scale as well as the Barred Riflemen do. But this Barred Riflemen just lost 4 members to a single Stug shot and then go down and retreat, as does this next squad. A little bit of poor positioning there, I would think. This is, you know, as the Americans, you're always keen to flank and get around the back of those more positional units like the MGs. But the problem if you go for a huge flank like that, get 3 units behind the enemy, if you then lose that battle and you're having to retreat, you have to retreat directly through the heart of the enemy's fighting forces, and it's much more likely to lose squads. As Challengerli found out there to his detriment, this Volkswagen squad in a little bit of trouble. This rifleman, we can't see the kills yet. This still isn't a feature of the game, but it must be getting close to veterancy now. Now that rifleman squad I saw sneaking around here. I wonder what he's going for. Is he going to try and sneak? Now, I believe in this build of the game there was a little blind spot between here that if you were very quick, you could sneak directly through. It looks like he's trying to find a safe way out of there, and he has done a very good job of that. Stug now. One Stug trying to push through the middle. This is exactly what I was mentioning earlier. A little bit concerned. We know that Challengerli is liable to pop some mines around the map, as we saw there, and then when that Stug gets his damaged engine on it, particularly when there's only one Pioneer squad on the field and it's retreating from the other side of the map, that Stug is going to be, to a degree, out of commission for a good long while here. So if you think about time as a resource in this game, you have units have to be in one thing or the other, and it takes time to cap the map, to reinforce squads and all those things. You're kind of effectively spending resources by risking your Stug in that way, although the quad half track does put itself in harm's way as well. Looks like it should be okay. Although, no! The Panzerfaust goes off and takes it down. Or, that actually might have been the AT gun. I'll finish that off. I'll have to check that in the replay afterwards. I'm pretty sure it must have been a Panzerfaust, but could have been the AT gun. I'll check the replay afterwards and see exactly what went on there. Big push on there. Tried to attempt to push at the middle with that very low health Volkswagen squad. It's going to have to run. Finally see a Puma on the field. Now this Puma, especially now that the quad half track is down and can't sort of zone out a little bit and help to block it with its speed. This Puma essentially has very limited counters on the field right now. AT guns, not that effective against them, particularly at range when the Pumas are moving. That rifleman squad losing a lot of models here. The Puma going in for the kill. Oh, but it gets straight over. Another mine. AT gun lying in wait, ready to take it out. That rifleman throws off the sticky grenade. In the end, it was wasted. But that rifleman squad there risked clearly a nice bait move there. Lost a few of its members. Risked his life for the cause to try and debate that Puma over the mine and into the arc of that AT gun. Nice move there from Challengerli. NewName again falling a little bit prey to being slightly over aggressive, I would say, and not keeping in mind the fact that there are likely mines on this map. Still hasn't got an upgrade. Oh, yet another mine going off here. When you think of the time that he's lost here and the resources he's lost in terms of reinforcement costs, and the fact that it makes his squads get down to super low health like this one, means they can't really fight head on, especially against the barred rifleman. Now he knows that the sticky bombs upgrade is in. He knows it's the AT guns, and I think these Stugs have to be very, very careful at this point. We haven't yet seen a doctrine choice that I'm aware of, so he's in a little bit of a tricky spot here. He knows he can't really fully engage with these Stugs unless he's fully supported by a few, by some infantry and particularly an MG if he's going to be able to keep the rifleman squads at bay. He has gone for a sniper. Interesting. So snipers were not particularly frequently used in these early builds of the game. They were often seen as a direct counter to the weapons support center. So you'd often see the Wehrmacht go for a sniper for their second or third unit in the early game if they saw weapons support start from the opponent. But apart from that, they were relatively infrequently used. We know that, of course, today as an incredibly important unit in terms of bleeding the manpower of the opponents over the course of long games in particular. Yeah, but that wasn't something that was particularly common. And that interesting move there. I'm kind of curious to see how he uses it, how he pushes it around, and how much danger he's willing to put it in. Oh, we do see a howitzer on the map now. Map howitzer, where is that going down? He is aiming for the Sturm Armory. He's kind of going for that move that I was telling about earlier. And that sees where it is, and it looks like he will be able to take out that Sturm Armory depending where this final shot goes down. There you go. A perfect illustration of why it was necessary to nerf the on-map howitzer. Do you think you can get that down and it's essentially as effective as the off-map howitzer shoot? And it shoots every couple of minutes for free with no flares, and is able to take out a base building like that. I mean, that's incredibly powerful, really. Now, after a single shot that I saw from the sniper, Jeep on the field, the Jeep, Challengerli wasn't quite paying attention there, so the Jeep didn't immediately turn to chase. Looks like it's going the wrong way there. That's the disadvantage of having the reversibility. Chasing now. Oh, looks like a block by the Axis blocking the sniper with its own Stugs. This sniper must be absolutely furious. The Jeep, though, doesn't go in for the kill there. Instead, decides to try and run away and goes down for its trouble. Is that a second on-map howitzer? Or is that just another barrage going down? Very interesting indeed. Oh, these howitzer shoots are super, super powerful. Looks like he's kind of aimed in the same spot again. I'm just going to check quickly. Let's swing over to Challengerli's side, see what's going on here. It's just a single howitzer now. That's how frequent the reload is. I was really certain that must have been a second howitzer on the field to be shooting again so soon after that first barrage, but nope, same one. No wonder this is a powerful strategy to think that you've only got that little amount of time to rebuild your base buildings before another howitzer shot starts coming in. Let's try and follow the first. Now, Challengerli doing the kind of smart thing here, keeping his AT guns in his base. He realizes that for this short period of time, it's shooting again.
Now support rapid deployment.
Now that is incredibly fast. I can't imagine for the life of me that that is how it was supposed to be. I'm not surprised at all that it was nerfed at that point. But yeah, he's keeping the AT guns back home. He realizes that this howitzer is probably one of his best opportunities to win the game if he keeps doing this. He keeps firing on the opponent's base like this. Looks like he is focusing on the base first and foremost. So he's kept the AT guns back to try and keep that thing alive. But unfortunately, this specialist one on the right was a little bit out of position. And it looks like he will lose that anyway. Yep, the howitzer goes down. Very expensive unit going down there, of course. Sniper now pushing over as well. Sniper managed to stay alive and is going to do a lot of damage to this AT gun and render them pretty ineffective against these Stugs, although did manage to get itself suppressed and is now surrounded by the barred rifles. Another Stug goes down. Barred rifles, will they finish off the sniper? They don't. Pay attention, they get it anyway. Running the wrong way, firing over their shoulder like a little trick shot, but it does do the damage. Now these two barred riflemen now pushing in. Going to try and get the sticky bombs off with the necessary sticky bombs to take out this Stug. Looks like one rifle did use the suppression ability on the MP40s. Force them away while the other one chases down. They've got plenty of munitions in the bank, although the income is pretty low. That looks like a stew out on the map to try and force away these heavy infantry plays. Destroyed engine now. We see a stew and the stormtroopers, very important. This rifleman choosing to push in, desperate to take out that Stug. With the destroyed engine, I think he could have... Oh, that's not good. I think he could have afforded to just bring forward his AT gun to get off the final shot on that. Oh, and it's a destroyed... It's a 5% bug there, so that will survive. Destroyed engine, not enough to take the kill. This double veterancy AT gun now gets a lot of bonuses, as we discussed in previous videos. Might be able to take out that stew on retreat. Just about manages to survive, but now the... AT gun in itself is in a little bit of trouble. Chooses to reposition rather than running away because the rifleman squad pops the suppression ability. It's going to keep that stormtrooper squad at bay. He knows he's not going to be in too much trouble there. But speaking about too much trouble, we see very few units in the field here from Challengerli. He's in a bit of a difficult situation. He's got decent income, of course. Oh, and chooses to move forward with the AT gun at just the wrong time. Looks like he might lose the veterancy on these. Hasn't got enough munitions for another suppression ability, so the veterancy may go down with the crew of this AT gun. Indeed it does. Yeah, that's a bit of a nightmare situation for Challengerli now. So he's hasn't got a great deal of units on the field. Hasn't got much map control. He's doing fine for VPs. In fact, they are pretty much neck and neck as we sit. But he has invested in teching up to tier 4 and got his first Sherman on the field. Now, doesn't have any real income, so this will have to be... Yeah, he will have to use this very effectively and make sure to keep it alive in the short term while he rebuilds up his army. Only a couple of rifleman squads and an AT gun. Looks like it was recently recrewed, so it doesn't have any veterancy on it. In and of itself, that's not going to do a great deal. So yeah, he does need to use this as a unit to kind of buy himself some time. Get a bit more manpower income, get that back on the field. He recruits a second AT gun, so he's bolstering at least his anti-tank forces, although, if he's not careful, he might lose all of those. So these rushing MP40 is going to have to get him back into the range of that MG nest, and he does do so. Okay, chasing off a couple of units, capping on the right with the Sherman. It's a nice move there. The Stug that had a destroyed engine earlier in the piece looks like it's just about got back up to full health and it's back to normal. It would be an interesting thing to move around here and try and cap that and see if you can get bait this to come around here. But not yet. That's maybe a little bit too risky a move as we sit. Although his army is getting back up to a pretty decent fighting force as we sit. I'm very curious if he does try and get another howitzer down and kind of revert to his earlier strategy of trying to essentially destroy the base and go for the annihilation victory. Not at the minute. It's one of the advantages of Blitz we see see chosen by NewName is that you have access to that stew. So even if you don't have the Volkswagen on retreat, gets sniped by that AT gun. Absolute ninjas driving that thing. Yeah, even if you don't have the base buildings, you lose your Sturm armor. You still have access to kind of that bulky tank unit in the form of the stew. Not as effective against tanks. In fact, there's pretty poor penetration and damage, but you've got that bulk that can sort of force the tanks away. You can do a lot of damage against infantry in the meantime. Let's switch back to NewName's perspective for a little while and see how he's doing for units. So he's got more units on the field, but they are kind of generally a little bit weaker. He's got one Volkswagen Discord. He's managed to get a bar on, and another upgraded with MP40s. But apart from that, he's sort of lacking any units with a real punch. The Stugs have got a bit of a punch, but they are pretty much completely negated by the AT guns on the field. The MGs itself, they're obviously pretty decent, but with these upgraded barred rifles, they're going to feel relatively confident in being able to flank those MGs, particularly with the support of the Sherman. Stormtrooper's not upgraded with either Panzer Shreks or the MP44s, so they aren't really going to have that super strong ability against infantry either. So he's in a little bit of a strange position here. I think he's doing a good thing here and taking it a little bit slow, consolidating his position a little. Sherman here poking against the Stug and Stew, relatively undefended, although we do see the AT gun pushing up around here. NewName's going to have to respond to this pretty quickly. He doesn't want to lose these Stews, Stugs and Stews. He looks like he's already saving his manpower. A little bit of a micro mistake here from Challengerli, but yeah, it looks like he's already saving manpower to try and get his Tiger on the field and make sure he can get a couple of Tiger tanks out as soon as possible. So yeah, if you think he's got that many resources just sat in the bank, that's, I mean, we could look here, could be having another 3 Stugs on the field quite easily. But he's decided to bank that up instead. So there will be a slight time, I wonder now. I think he should now. I'm not actually able to click that in the UI at the minute. I think he should have it, access to it right now, but the rifleman here pushing in did manage to get the decap there and cause him to be population capped. So it slowed down the Tiger tanks entrance to the battlefield quite significantly. They got this bazookas to absolutely nothing. Rendered pretty useless here, but now as he gets that reconnected, pop cap goes up, and he has room for the armored assault force pushing out onto the field here. And this will really, I mean, this, I was mentioning just before, he kind of lacked that punchy unit to sort of dominate the battlefield. Can't do much better than a Tiger to perform that role. There's plenty of AT guns on the field, so Challengerli, NewName, excuse me, can't just be running around willy-nilly and expected to really dominate. He's going to have to be a little bit careful, make sure that these Tigers supported, because as strong as it is, a couple or 3 allied AT guns will take it down in short order, particularly if they have enough munitions for the armor-piercing rounds ability. But at the minute, I would hate to see this double vet rifle squad go down. It looks like it will. Challengerli, I mean, he's fallen kind of into the same trap several times here. Gets distracted and loses squads for no reason, just slightly late retreats. And you gotta say, with the introduction of the Tiger tank, the Volksgrenadiers all getting back to full health, and losing a couple of the squads that gain the veterancy that's so important late game. NewName is looking into a pretty decent position here. Having said that, he has got quite a few weak squads of his own, so he needs to be a little bit careful, particularly having lost that Stew earlier, lost a little bit of anti-infantry punch. Looks like he's saving up again. I'll be curious to see if he goes for a Stew or whether he decides to wait a little bit longer and get the second Tiger on the field. He kind of has, I think either would be a decent option. He could really dominate the field, I think, with the quicker Stew and the Stormtroopers, get a couple of Shreks out, or maybe 1 Shrek, 1 MP44. He can certainly afford to take up to tier 4 to get the MP44 upgrade. And they are so powerful against infantry. Particularly when you're sneaking in there and you've got a couple of them, you can do an enormous amount of damage. And it will make it very difficult for the rifleman squads to dominate the field, as they have been doing. As it is, no upgrades at all. Sending out these weakened squads, not trying to fill up his pop cap, or using his manpower. So it looks like he is saving now for the Tiger. gone past that 700 manpower mark needed for the stew and stormtroopers. He's waiting for 1,000, making sure he gets there as soon as possible. Still making use of this squad by capping, with capping in places that are pretty safe. So very nice, effective bit, efficient bit of usage of his resources there by NewName. Oh, you can see here that the unit's pushing down. Oh, it looks like another squad has gone down. A squad of stormtroopers, no less, has gone down to the mines. He still hasn't opted to get a minesweeper squad. And with 500 manpower in the bank, I think that's a little bit of an oversight. Just to 500, it looks like he's probably saving up so that late game he can use the Blitzkrieg or manpower blitz abilities. They're pretty powerful. He's opting, I would assume, deliberately not to get Panzerschrecks and things like that to help support him against these Shermans. I'd say he's probably got enough anti-tank on the field in the form of these 2 Tigers and the Stug sitting here close to space. So it must be a conscious decision not to get the MP44s. Challengerli back out on the map now. Taking control of the right hand side, so he's got the VPs in his favour. Oh, that rifleman's ready to get out of there. 2 Tigers pushing in. It's actually a thing of beauty to see 2 Tigers pushing forward in unison. You know, this is something we haven't seen in the game for, 15 years. So it's pretty cool to see this going on. You can these 2 Tigers now feeling pretty ballsy. Going to push into the Allies' base. A couple of deflections there. AT guns are ready and set up in the base, so he decides to pull back. At least for now. Yeah, I think it's probably a pretty safer, smarter option than to push in at that stage. Although the AT guns now, he is back in AT gun range. You can't quite see it, but you can see the deflections going off. There we go. Oof. 3 deflections in a row. This Tiger's feeling confident, I would imagine, right now. Look at that. It's actually a thing of beauty. I'm just going to let this play out a little. Wonderful. Okay, in the meantime, those 2 Tigers look like they are retreating. It seems like a Ranger squad was trying to push around here, maybe going for the cutoff, but is going to get chased away by a pretty formidable army there. Oh, an engineer squad there as well was trying to push out into the map, gets yanked quite significantly by these 2 Tigers. Yeah, plenty of opportunity now for NewName to push back on the right side of the map. He's lost a pretty decent amount of map control here. Stormtrooper squads unupgraded. Moving in here, maybe just a scout. But again, I mean, just imagine there's a couple of Shreks on that. Could have just pulled forward the AT guns, the Tigers, excuse me. Used the Stormtrooper squad to throw a bundle grenade, disable one of the AT guns, fire a couple of Shreks up at this Sherman tank, a couple of shots from the Tigers, and it's almost certainly would have gone down. As it is, the fighting seems to be going on over here. This Rifleman squad holding its own pretty well against the unupgraded Stormtroopers. Here we go. Here comes the sneaky bundle grenade. Oh, actually, these are so close together as well. Could easily use a bundle grenade or maybe the Blitz Assault ability, and you might even get lucky and see the 2 of them go down at once with the Blitz Assault because they're pretty inaccurate. So this is being patient here, showing a good bit of patience, waiting for the right time to push in and strike. Oh. Does go for the the bundle grenade, decrews that 1 AT gun. This is one of the issues that happens. Oh, it looks like it will have. It did recloak. One problem with Stormtroopers is that they would sometimes not. The one that I throw in a bundle grenade wouldn't recloak correctly. It was a very frustrating bug. That meant that you couldn't quite like recloak, go back away and then come back in very easily. Ooh, big manpower loss there. Decides to recrew with the rifleman and immediately loses that crew without even firing a shot. And now here we go. This from Challengerli is one of the fundamentally strong strategies of this era of the game. The Sherman Plasma Shield, as it was known, the smoke ability that we see today used and effectively lowers the accuracy of all projectiles within it, shot from it or shot into it. And it means that you can use it to make Shermans a little bit more hardy and be able to get away from engagements that are unfavorable. That's how it works today, and that is perhaps how it was intended to be used. However, at this time of the game, it was a little bit different because it not only reduced incoming it didn't reduced both incoming and outgoing accuracy. It only affected the incoming accuracy, so you could effectively shoot pretty much with the same accuracy you would have normally, but from within an invincible plasma shield of smoke, as it was known. So it was an expensive ability. You had to pay the fuel cost to upgrade it, and then there's the munitions cost to then use it every time. But it was such a... It essentially made your units invulnerable while allowing them to continue to dish out the damage. So it was incredibly, incredibly powerful. This Sherman chooses to go in and block to help the other one get away. Will it just be able to get out of range? Oh, missed there from the Tiger. Really unfortunate. Good bit of work there by Challengerli to get that block off and keep that Sherman alive. This Tiger now moving forward, and notice there's an AT gun over there. This AT gun's just there. Third Sherman now pushing around from this side. I mean, a little bit of... I'd say the Tigers, if they can position themselves well, should be in a good spot there. Oh, actually, a Tiger then hits in the middle of this German smoke. Unusual, a little bit of good fortune there for NewName. The Sherman is going to have to get out of there, I imagine. God, the armor of these Tigers is so impressive. Getting a lot of deflections, even directly in the rear armor. That's a very good engagement there for both players. You know, they both managed to push in, get some damage off, but then retreat at the right time. Kind of a slow move, you know. It's often like a quiet thing that you don't necessarily notice too much, is how well people get it disengaged. But yeah, nicely done there by the players. NewName now floating an enormous amount of resources. It's one thing to float. Munitions if you're saving it up for late game abilities you haven't yet had access to, but to float this much manpower and fuel is really crazy. These could be veterancy 3 Tigers, for example, or we could have a few more Pioneers on the field. You could easily have a couple more Stormtroopers. Again, with Shreks to help in these battles against the Shermans. Another smoke goes down from the Shermans there. Rangers not really been able to help out much at all. Those bazookas are so ineffective. It's really quite interesting to see how bad they were back in the day. Very little penetration, although I'm sure Rangers today aren't going to be the thing that you're going to want to be at the heart of your game. Yep, here we go. He's going to invest some of those resources now. Gets the Kampfkraft Center down. Going to get the first tier of Tank Vet. It'll really help those Tigers in these engagements. Yeah, I think that's a good decision there, to invest some of these resources and stop floating. Although, of course, it's an advantage to be able to immediately replace the Tiger if you do lose it. I think making the Tigers you've got stronger is perhaps a better choice. Let's flick back over to Challengerli now and see what he's up to. I don't think he's got the upgun on the Sherman yet. No, it doesn't look like it. Hasn't got that lengthened barrel that you see when that upgrade is in place. Wow, he has a lot of Shermans. 1 Sherman, 2 Shermans, 3 Shermans on the field, along with 1, 2, 3 AT guns. He has all the AT in the world. Although he's got slightly limited infantry with just the 1 rifleman squad and the 1 ranger squad on the field. Also hasn't gone for any of the upgrades at the supply yard upgrade, so you can see his manpower income is incredibly low here. Just saw him invest another... all of that manpower that he had in stock. I can't actually see what he used it on. Interesting. Maybe opting for... His manpower just all disappeared simultaneously. I can't see on what. Is he building... okay, a howitzer being built in the base. He goes for the off-map howitzer there on that group of units. They have to retreat. The Pioneers retreat, have to run away from that Tiger that they were trying to repair. Veterancy 2 now in. With Veterancy 2, I can't imagine this Sherman gets away in any world whatsoever. Although, he might be able to get us up in a good position in that. Huge whiff there by the Tiger. Maybe popping the smoke here might help it get away. But nope, not able to get away. But the helm up howitzer is now completed. We'll have to see if he does decide to push to immediately use it on these units he knew that were clumped up in that area of his base. Indeed, here go the projectiles. Have to check around here and see what we see. Looks like they may not be being used in this area. Because they haven't come down yet.
105 ready.
Interesting. Wonder where they are going down. I can hear them, but I can't see them. Oh, there we go. Oh, it's on the HQ itself he's aiming. Maybe a few of them are landing off map, which is why we can't quite see where they're landing. Yep, there's another one there. Looks like he wants to take that HQ down as soon as possible and prevent NewName from calling in any new Tiger tanks or anything like that. This is one of the disadvantages of waiting this long and having all those resources in the bank. He could have used those Tigers more aggressively with a couple of extra squads of stormtroopers. Could easily have got in a couple of, even if he'd lost his Tigers, he could have called in more and put Challengerli in a position where he isn't able to afford this extra howitzer and able to take out this HQ. It is shooting absurdly quickly. This is crazy. I really can't quite believe this is how it was. Oh, you can see the HQ is very low health. Might be able to take it down even with this barrage. I'll go back to that in a second.
We're losing a fuel point.
Looks like it was actually... I'm trying to see where these howitzer shots are being used. It's very tricky to keep track of it. Oh, it is coming down here. It does look as though if the shot lands off map, it doesn't quite... it doesn't land effectively and you don't actually hear it go down. So maybe the howitzer overshooting a little bit more than Challenger was expecting. But now we see the repairing Pioneer Squad very low health. And the right headquarters itself may have gone down. I can't see if they're still going. Doesn't look like it. There was a bug in the game early days where it actually, even if the HQ went down, it wouldn't actually go down visually. That's a big problem. Now we see the triple veterancy Tigers out on the field, ready to push out. Seems to me like they're looking pretty aggressive when they come in and end the game here, chasing down these Shermans. They're still unupgunned, aren't going to have much joy at all piercing the armor of these Efficiency 3 units. One Sherman going straight into the base. Looks like it wants to complete the HQ kill if it can. Howitzer still shooting. It's actually crazy to me how quickly it shoots. So this one decides to use its smoke ability to try and stay alive. Let's see there. This doesn't look like it's the plasma shield as I remember it. Off quite well, but something not that effectively. Looks like he may... I mean, the on-map howitzer goes down to these Tigers. I mean, there's almost no answer to that, I would think. But these buildings in the base are very low health. Looks like he could easily use the off-map howitzer to take out this HQ. And then the Sherman alone, or perhaps with the support of these Shermans here, may be able to even just take out the base. I think that NewName has got to be really careful he doesn't get annihilated here. Looks like he's saving up the howitzer shoot. It's a 200 munition ability here. What is it? It's 150 munitions today. A little bit more expensive. He's now using the Blitzkrieg ability, speeding up these tanks so they will be able to get back to the base quicker. Quicker than otherwise, but and their rate of fire will of course be increased, so their damage output is a lot higher. But Challengerli now, if he's not able to take this HQ down, I mean, looks like he wants to go for the annihilation, but he's not sure he's going to be able to pull it off here at this stage. Has got these two Shermans. If we could bring them in, if the Tigers do come back to the base, here they come. They should easily scare away this Sherman and prevent the annihilation victory that I was worried about. The off-map howitzer shoot now does go down, and it will stop any immediate off-map call-ins from NewName, but it's not going to be enough, I wouldn't imagine, to turn the tide of the battle. Let's see if the HQ does go down. Yeah, in fact, it does look as though it does go down properly. So, no more off-map call-ins. And 3 Shermans on the field. Now, I mean, if you can lure the Tigers to the wrong position and then push them around quickly, maybe down that central road into the base. These are only 3 buildings and they're relatively low health. They'll go down very quickly to the Shermans, particularly if he's able to save up the munitions for another off-map howitzer shoot, although this Sherman is in a really bad position here. He's going to want to get out of there as soon as possible. I'm very curious to see what Challengerli's priority is here. I think it's got to the stage now with his 2 tanks on the field and he's lost his AT guns. He's not going to be able to take the fight head on, so he really will, I think, have a bit more joy if he goes for the base and tries to get the annihilation victory. Both players have very little on the field apart from the few tanks, so I think that's got to be the way to go. Look, no anti-tank in the base whatsoever. If he's able to take out the repairing pioneers, which I think he could easily do, 1 shot is likely going to be enough. The Tigers moving away from the base may regret it. He hasn't yet focused firing the base buildings though, so maybe isn't prioritizing the Annihilation victory as I expected here. Plenty of munitions in the bank, as we saw from NewName earlier, so I don't think he'll be too... He's too limited, isn't able to get the Faust off to get that final damage. An off-map howitzer shoot does now come in. Looks like he will take out the Kampfkraft Center. These Panzerfaust came out too late, I think. Another Sherman can push in from this side. The Tigers are out on the map, take out that one Sherman. But are they going to be enough? They're keeping them together if he split them up. One Tiger in the base, one chasing off the other Shermans. It would have been fine. Sherman now being a little bit indecisive, I would say. Now is going to go and try and take out these infantry. Misses that shot there, a little bit unfortunate. Tigers do now come back once again. Certainly an extremely indecisive play here from Challengerli. I think if he'd really focused his base buildings, he could easily have taken them out. As it is, he's going to try and off-map howitzer shoot those infantry there. Looks like they won't move. He may get this bunker down, but he didn't get down the Kampfkraft Center earlier, so even if the bunker goes down, it's not like he just has one building to rush in and try and take out. It's going to be the two of them there. Very low health, but I think it's possible. Now, I really hope that NewName isn't moving out with the Tigers. I mean, he has to be aware that the immediate threat here is the Annihilation. Does look like Challengerli is going for that. He must have seen also the Sherman go past that that strategic point. He did. Okay, and Challengerli decides to back away. Oh my word. Yeah, he's getting extra bunkers down on the map, so it looks like he is aware that Annihilation is the thing to be really concerned about. One big miss there by the Tiger. Manages to hit his buddy. Not sure his buddy will be too appreciative of that. Now this Sherman rushing back out out onto the other side of the map here. Now, I mean, there's a couple of decisions that Challengerli can make here. I mean, he's got the map control. He has the VPs under his control. He knows that there's very little infantry in the field. Does have the option to kind of play for time, keep the VPs under his control, kind of force NewName's hand that he has to be out on the map trying to capture those, and in the meantime use the opportunities where the Tigers go out there, try and aid in the capping of a point. You can then use that opportunity to swing in with the Shermans and try and complete the Annihilation victory. I mean, I think this has been slightly clumsily played in the end game by both players, but nevertheless very exciting. Down to 100 victory points here is NewName, so he does have to be careful. Now he's moved to the base with this Tiger, low health Tiger, which he can't replace. I think he's got to. He's very interesting. He has now split up his Tigers, maybe left one in the base, but now he's in the situation where he doesn't have the support of the Stormtroopers, doesn't have the support of the Volksgrenadiers with their Panzerfausts. And he's essentially moving at one Tiger that was only around half health against the entire Allies' army here, with plenty of anti-tank. So this Tiger, I think, is likely to go down. Let's switch over, I think, quickly just to see what NewName is up to. See what his plans are. Oh, he doesn't have a great deal of resources in the bank here, so he must have used his munitions on something. We saw some manpower blitz going on. Also must have been an upgrade here for this bunker, 50 for the repair bunker. Is it actually upgraded? Yes, for the repair bunker. So he spent his on the resource blitz by the looks of things, because he's only got the plus 80 income there. Yeah, manpower blitz, and we also saw the Blitzkrieg ability too being used. So actually, it looked like he burnt through that enormous bank of munitions we saw earlier. Looks like he burnt through it pretty quickly. Luckily for him, he does now have access to the HQ again. He's got that rebuilt, so he can use these off-map call-ins. And includes the Tiger, so we'll be able to replace this if it goes down. It may actually be a slightly better option not to kill that on behalf of Challengerli. Although actually we're looking at this issue with the pop cap here. It's going to be very tricky for NewName to get not only Tigers on the field but also the infantry he needs to capture the points and get these VPs, this VP drain under control. Look at these misses. You can see the Shermans firing out there weren't able to do the damage, but interested to see if they are actually hitting. Clearly being missed by a lot of units, but are able to relatively effectively. Looks like they may be trying to take out the Pioneers here. You get a damaged engine from that penetration. And now in the base. I can move away from this battle slightly. I'll keep it off in the distance so you can see it. riflemen now moving into the base, trying to stop the repairs going on here. Should be able to do that pretty effectively. We see another Sherman now pushing the base. I think NewName's now in a situation where he's most likely to die from the VPs. I mean, he has the bulk on the field. He's taken out those 2 Shermans, but he just doesn't have a way to get infantry units out on the map and capture these VPs. From just a couple of minutes ago, it seemed almost certain that he was going to go by annihilation was the immediate threat. And he just had to stabilize with those Tigers. It now seems like Challengerli has been able to distract him long enough to get the VPs heavily in his favor. Tiger tank now pushing out, killing stuff. That's Sherman in the base. And I cannot imagine these pioneers desperately trying to get the decap off here. They may get it, in fact they do. And these other infantry squads rushing over to the right-hand side of VP. They may just be able to get there in time. Let's see if this Tiger can prevent the recap here from the allies. This Volkswagen squad pushing over here. They must see that there's a mine gone down there. They must see that. I don't think they can afford to run into that mine. Sherman is going to push over here. They're not going immediately for the victory point. Looks like they will hit the mine unless they just managed to stay. Oh, and the mine does go down. The Rangers 2 were able to capture the point on the left-hand side, and we see game over. NewName, not happy. It seems to have lost to Challengerli, who, in the end, I think this is maybe an example of one of the reasons why I mentioned earlier. He was slightly controversial among the top players in the game, but I think nevertheless the smoke maybe had a slight effect in some of those engagements, but I don't think it was the real defining thing that changed the course of the game there. I think it was really a case of improvisation in the late game and who was able to kind of identify the threats most effectively. I think both could have played it much better, but luckily it treated us to a pretty exciting game. So I hope you have enjoyed watching this replay with me. I think it really quite nicely illustrated the Sherman smoke issue and also the power of late game blitz, particularly when you get the 2 veteran C3 Tigers, which are absolutely gorgeous. And I think you can imagine will be part of the thumbnail for this video. As it is, I hope you've enjoyed that, and we'll tune in again next time. Thanks for watching Company of Heroes.